call this February 28, 2024 meeting of the Grafton, Mass. Board of Library Trustees to order. And welcome everyone to our February meeting. Leap year is actually tomorrow. And first item on the agenda will be a discussion of library winter hours that are currently in place and proposed new hours. So I guess Debbie.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
I came to you all a couple months ago with a proposal for library winter hours to get us through a staffing crisis. At the time, we had no director, which we still do not. We were down borrower services manager, which we have since hired. Mary has started. If you have not met her, come by and say hi. We had some medical leave, some other earned leave. We were waiting on temps to be onboarded from the town, and we were just really, really short. What happened at that time is we had proposed to cut the hours to 50 hours a week as opposed to 60, and brought that to you, and you all approved that for us, and we thank you very much for that. What has happened in the meantime is that we still don't have a director. And because of that, the follow-through on the winter survey and the winter hours, it didn't happen immediately. We were kind of catching our breath in the holidays, and once we started the winter hours, we had a lot of adjustments and growing pains from that. So that the survey did not get off the ground immediately. What we're looking at right now is, and I don't want to dwell on this, but we are looking at 5 months without a director. We are looking at 3 months that no one has had those duties. For 2 months, I did that. Took on a bunch of the stuff on the building level. And what we're seeing is that there's no oversight. Staff are having a hard time right now. I'm going to get emotional because I'm exhausted. Staff are really having a hard time right now because there's no one steering the ship. We were told by, well, Roger and I had a talk the other day, and he said, well, we posted for an interim director and we just didn't get one. Right. We've been told by the town we posted for an interim director and we didn't get one. The staff is caught in the middle. You have department managers who are doing the job of the director with no compensation, who are not getting work done in our own departments. And everybody's feeling it. Today was a particularly rough day because we just switched over to a new room reservation system. CW Mars is switching us over to a new updated version of the Evergreen. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very cool. You're going to love it, but it's a lot of switching and a lot of moving around. We've had several people bring up the fact that there are several schools of thought on where we go from the winter hours. We surveyed the public, and I made copies available to you. I sent them out today. I wasn't sure if you'd already gotten them.
If I could just interrupt for a second, has everyone had a chance to speed read those at all? I apologize.
I took the survey. I haven't seen the results, and now I'm trying to read the results, but I took the survey myself.
The results, you can kind of look at the last page if you're looking at hours. The first page.
I apologize for not having forwarded that. That was a mix-up.
No, you're fine. It's just a miscommunication, and it's one of these things that's falling through the cracks because we don't have somebody kind of overseeing this. It was brought to my attention about a week ago. Per the union contract, we're supposed to have 30 days notice on a schedule change. And it's going to come down to what we view as a schedule change. Okay. Some people have brought up that anything going forward is a schedule change. If we maintain the winter hours, that's what we're working now. That would honestly be ideal and give us the opportunity to get new proposed hours in place. If we were to go back to the old schedule, I'm going to tell you it's not going to land well with staff right now that are already stressed out. And I feel, just me predicting and what I've heard is people are talking about a union grievance. Right. It could be interpreted one of two ways, that this was voted on to go through this date, and then therefore we would go back to the other schedule. But if you remember the meeting in December, I was asked by the board to see that the library, not necessarily me specifically, but the library as an institution, surveyed the patrons and staff as to what we wanted. So there's an implication there of we would look at different hours, but there's been no follow-through because there's no one in charge. And it's been, brought to my attention that, I could have done it, you could have done it, the town could have done it, somebody could have jumped in at some point, and but it's just that that's a director's job, and we don't have one. Those are the little tiny, the minutia of what a director does that is just kind of.
And I know we have an interim or acting director, but that was more in name to satisfy the MBLC's requirements, not to compromise state aid.
And no, I got an email from Evan today checking up on the teen room carpet, which I could give you a little update on that as well before I leave. And it was the first line said, "I'm really sorry, but this has not been," it's kind of slipped our minds too, because it's not a priority. There's so much going on that for them to oversee another whole, very large department of the town, it's not feasible for them to be doing either. So they're not, William was coming to our meetings for a while, and he's busy, and a lot of it is the day-to-day operations of the library that he doesn't necessarily need to be a part of. And then when we come to him, it's a time frame of, we send an email, does he get it? Is he in a meeting? Is he back? But there's no one on the ground that's in the building that's leading us. And it's a concern too for other people that there's no one on the ground in the library that's here reporting to you what we're doing. Right. We have these two entities of the town and the trustees that are controlling the library, but you guys aren't there. So we're all just in this strange, sticky position, and I don't know what the correct answer is.
It is one of the limitations of an executive committee to try to jump into day-to-day operations. But Dana?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Debbie, we were looking at this now. Can you tell us what, based upon your input from the staff and your experience, what is it that what would work best until we can have a schedule completed on time? What are you proposing?
The best thing that I think would just be the smoothest transition would be to continue winter hours through April 1st. And if you look at the second page of the document, these are preferred opening and closing times. 45.2% preferred 9 a.m., 36.6% had no preference, and only 18% said they wanted it open at 10 a.m. And that's what we see daily. We have people trying to open the doors before 10 a.m. to get in. We have families that want programs earlier in the day because children get up early and they want story times in the 9 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock hour, so then they can go home and have lunch and do naps and things.
But we're not proposing to change that I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Sorry, I forgot to ask permission.
That's okay.
So the survey's great. We would need time to digest it, but the ask from the library staff is to extend the winter hours till April 1st, so 2 more months at the same hours.
That would be 1 month.
March.
So, sorry, okay.
And March is Friday.
So
Already.
taking that one
month,
piece, for the month of March,
Maybe we should do it too.
anything, I guess, adverse about that? In other words, no working conditions would be, in other words, people's individual working circumstances, there would be no detriment. In other words, by continuing the library hours through the 31st. And is there a schedule in place, even if, like, what is the schedule in place right now that, I'm cautious to not get into union issues, but I guess, am I correct in saying that there's a schedule in place, but it's not a perfect one?
We're working winter hours. Winter hours are the schedule that's in place.
No, but is there
right
something
now.
in place beyond winter hours?
The former director had me build the schedule out
All right.
very, very far in advance through the end of the fiscal year, months and months and months ago. And that's not even accurate anymore with the staffing that we have. Staffing has shifted and things have changed. People have changed positions.
So
and
some of it is accurate, but you're saying that
it would
conditions
still
have
be
changed.
it's still be a schedule change.
Dana?
I was just going to ask you, can you just tell us, as a reminder, what are the winter hours again, just so we all know here?
They are 10 to 8, Monday through Thursday, and 10 to 3, Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Can I ask you about it? So at this point in time, we've had the winter hours for a few months, Have you received any negative comments from patrons being upset that the library isn't open the regular hours?
They're very understanding. What we see mostly is Friday afternoon traffic as we're leaving. And we found, according to the survey too, that people prefer a 6 p.m. close on Friday instead of a 5 p.m., which is what we were looking at. If we shift the hours up to open at 9 a.m., then closing would ideally be up an hour earlier as well, but that's not what they want on Fridays. Almost 50% is 46% of people wanted a 6 p.m. close on Friday, because we do see a lot of people coming in to get holds and do things after. We have a pretty decent contingent of teens that come in on Fridays as well. So that would be a 6 p.m. close for Fridays.
So I guess I understand the ask to April 1st. We communicated the winter close hours, and it was a few months. I almost would err on the side of, we should probably do it for 2 months, because, we established the winter hours, we gave, people, notice that was happening. If we extend it a month and then have to do it again, I think it's better, if we're gonna extend it, to probably do it for 2 months, just given the fact that we are in the process of interviewing for the director. So we did actually, and we'll have update, we are actively interviewing candidates, which is good news, but of course, we need to go through the full process and vetting and everything, so it's going to take a little while to get that person in. So so I guess, what are your thoughts of that? If we did it for 2 months, do you feel that the patrons would be receptive to that or understanding to that? Do you think that that would help take the load off for the staff a little bit?
Or maybe that hasn't been floated as an idea?
The 2 months has not been floated as an idea. We are looking at kind of a time crunch that even if we extend it for 30 days, then we literally have like 1 day to get the first week's schedule out.
Yeah, I know.
And I,
We've kind of done a draft.
So I know that there was a sort of twofold component to this about based on the survey, then based on the original proposal of extending the winter hours and then going to a permanent schedule as of 4/1. I guess, have you met with the town to discuss has the union met with the town to discuss any impact about any employee impact as of 4/1 about that new proposed permanent schedule?
No, we've had very little contact with the town recently. And the town, when we did discuss bringing this to the trustees prior to the December meeting, William Blake's comment was that the library hours are up to the trustees. So
I mean-
they said that was not a town issue.
So let me
Trustee
ask
issue.
you this. Aaron or John, do either of you have any comments about Carrie's suggestion?
Yes.
Please.
So I'm just playing devil's advocate here because we have to think of all parties involved, and really, the trustee board are, we're advocates for the community,
Right.
right? And I think that was a great question to ask, what does the community think about this? I mean, maybe Debbie knows, maybe you've heard a lot of feedback, but at the same token, right, I'm very sensitive to the staffing hours and not having a director and having having to take on additional responsibility. I mean, I guess I don't have any problem extending winter hours. I just want to make sure that we do that with the best interest of the community in mind. So if people are really kind of saying, 3 o'clock is it 3 o'clock on a Friday right now? Like, that was a big time when I used to visit the library, and maybe I'm being selfish, but, that was a good time for me to check in, and that's when a lot of the teens kind of show up, and, I get out of work at 4 o'clock, and I can head over there and check it out, but, so I don't go anymore on Friday, because that just doesn't work for me, and probably others as well.
Right.
So
But by going 2 months, it would allow you,
Yes.
it would allow the town and the union to get together to speak to what, if any, impact there would be through a more permanent solution.
If I could just speak to the issue of the union.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love y'all to death. The town and it's not really a union issue. The
Right.
union issue is the notice on the schedule change. It's not, there's no change in working conditions unless This is,
But
unless
isn't-
they're
but
forced
isn't-
to work a schedule without having the 30 days notice.
But
And
isn't-
I share Erin's concern because I'm the manager of the teen department, and it is hard for the teens. And even though we tell them and we put it out on social media and TikTok and everything else, some of them still do show up.
But wouldn't that be determined, in other words, you're in the building, all the time, so you certainly have assessed things as to the pulse of the place and people's satisfaction and dissatisfaction, but to, I guess, say, well, there wouldn't be any adverse impact regarding that, wouldn't that be something that you'd want to decide at the table between the town and the union?
No, because the staff is the union. And I'm one of,
No, but as far as the town, in other words, our assistant town administrator being part of that.
this
sort of-
isn't a change in working conditions. This is literally the only union issue that would be with this, is be whether or not we are forcing staff to work a different schedule with less than 30 days' notice.
No, but I'm talking about about, when you say working conditions, isn't a permanent change in hours, which is the second component, could potentially be looked at that, and isn't that something that you'd want to determine with the,
That's something that
The
the
town.
trustees asked us to look into, and we looked into it, and the data pretty much speaks to what the town wants. And William said in our department meeting on December, as I just stated, that the town is not involved in library hours. So I'm concerned why we keep bringing the town into this
I just
process.
have a thought here. I guess this is what I'm trying to figure out, and maybe Debbie, you can probably help me. So, I think it makes sense to extend this winter hours to maybe 2 months. In that interim, do we think that by May we'll be able to have a schedule? Because when do we have to give you the schedule? Is it at the end of April? Is it the end of March for May?
So if you said tonight that you extend it by 30 days, then we would have to have April 1st schedule to staff on March 1st,
Right.
which would
Okay,
give
so
us
that-
basically tomorrow
Okay,
to get that done. And we've looked at, it's not that different than the winter hours, with the exception of Friday is a longer day, Saturday is a shorter day, and we're working through that. We just know that the winter hours, we're facing the 30-day crunch. And just a little caveat to this conversation too, is this was not, I feel like I have to point this out, this was not my idea. I didn't come up with any of this. I offered to come in December because of my schedule and because I have an established relationship with the board. But a lot of it has sort of fallen on me, and I don't have answers to these questions.
No, but it
that's
was- it was
okay,
a
'cause you know
proactive
what I'm
solution.
trying
It's
to
a little tricky.
I understand that, and I think it's great that we're discussing this, and then you've taken the role. I'm just trying to figure out, and I think, because now which I have no problem with, we're talking about March and April, stay with what we've been doing since it's been working, and we still don't have a director. So my question is, and I think you answered it, that means I think by April 1st, we should have a schedule for May.
Yes.
And who would do that schedule? That's the piece that I'm not understanding.
That's kind of where we're landing, is that department managers are doing that. Shannon works on the schedule for like day-to-day and filling gaps and kind of looking at putting in vacations and personal days and things. But the master schedule is typically done by the director.
That's what I thought. So without a director,
I did the winter hour schedule
and
because
we're not going to have a director by then, correct? By May 1st?
I don't know.
Okay,
that's
I
the
don't
department
think-
managers are working on.
okay.
I think that it's possible that we have a director by May 1st. So we actually, and I know this is kind of jumping around, but it is relevant. We received a number of applications. We scheduled interviews for all of our first round picks this week. So we actually conducted 2 interviews last night, and we have another interview scheduled tomorrow. And I think we're going to have candidates to recommend. So,
And that would mean,
Yeah,
that as a
yeah.
board, we would have the ability to, just
Okay.
sort of on the fly, schedule meetings on short notice to fast forward that process. In other words, we would take it out of the scope of our monthly meetings.
Yeah.
absolutely.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
absolutely.
Really fast,
Well,
try to fast forward
we
that
would, yeah,
process.
That kind of answers my question. I think that would really be good. The only thing I would like to say is, I'd prefer to have a library director working before we change the hours permanently.
Oh,
I really think
absolutely.
that would be better, because
Yeah.
that's what I think.
J-
So this,
John?
I
Well,
think this would work well.
I'll
So,
I'll recognize, This kind of, you want to
You can go
flip a
ahead,
coin? All right. go
Yeah,
ahead.
so again, you know, the hours are up to the library trustees, right?
Okay,
So we'll certainly take input from a new library director.
but I'd like to, yeah, at
But-
least have that input.
Right. So I think what I'm hearing is that the union needs 30 days in order to put a proper schedule together, or 30 days before a shift change, right? So would it be feasible, you know, what you came here tonight with was to move back to new library hours of 58 hours?
No.
No, a different, but it's a different schedule.
They won't-
It's early, it would be a 9 to 8 schedule
I thought you,
on
No, I
Monday
thought
through
it was
Thursday.
I'm talking about hours, right? So we're down to 50 hours, right?
Mhm.
So to go back up to 58 or 60 hours,
she wants to go to, she wants to keep winter hours for the next 2 months.
that was Carrie's proposal.
Oh,
That's not
okay.
what she
No,
came
no,
here
no, no,
tonight
no,
I
she
with.
thought,
asked
I
for a
thought that's what
month.
she was saying.
She asked for
So
a
what do
month.
you-
She asked for one,
All right, I'm going to recognize John.
All right, so I guess let me maybe propose something here. So given all the things that we've just discussed, Debbie, do you agree that it would be in the staff's best interest for us to continue winter hours, at least for the time being, for the next 2 months? And then, I mean, obviously, we're gonna work as quickly as we can to get a new director in, but we don't wanna rush that either, to force that. And as the others have said, it's technically up to us, and we have the data, and I've talked to staff numerous times about these hours. So if at the end of those 2 months, it's possible that we decide to move to the 58 hours a week, the new proposed thing that you laid out here, I think that sounds really good. I know, there's always gonna be someone who's like, well, I like to come into the library from 8 to 9 PM. But it sounds like that's the minority, and the majority is more inclined to come in earlier, or on certain times, certain days. So winter hours for 2 months, and then I guess we could vote on that. We could maybe vote on the 58-hour proposal now, so that it's ready to go at the end of those 2 months. And if the director comes in, or if any other changes happen in terms of staffing, we can reassess, in the
I'm not
in the
But
next
I'm
meeting.
wondering,
I'm not ready to vote on that.
all right, so,
Well, sorry.
all right, sure.
So that was kind of a question to Debbie. Does that
Yeah,
all
what-
make sense to you, or is there an amendment you would want to make to that?
I agree with what you've said. I think what we're looking at was when the former director went out on leave, we were trusted to keep the library running. I was paid a stipend to do a lot of her duties for 2 months. When I took over the teen department, that opportunity went away, and we were just left to our own devices. And now what we're hearing is that even I was told today on the teen room gaming carpet that we should wait till there's a director.
So I guess,
So
all right.
if I could just finish, so now,
I don't think
I just
we're
don't want to
talking
stray
about-
to other items.
well, no, we're
yeah.
talking about the opinion of a fictitious director that doesn't exist yet, weighing in on what we have surveyed our staff and our population to decide, and they've decided, this is not, I've told other people on staff too, this was very clear. If you look at these percentages, this is what the
Yeah.
people want.
So I'm asking you,
You've
I
asked
guess.
us to do this. I'm
Right.
presenting this
Well-
information, and now you're saying we should let a person who is probably not going to be on board before May. I'm just telling you, it took us 2 months to get 3 temps onboarded. So if you think we're getting a director before April or May, I hope and pray that that's the case. I have no confidence that that's what's going to happen.
All right, what
We've
you
got
gonna
Mary
say something?
onboarded
One more
fairly
thing, and
quickly,
then I'll
but-
recognize
Yeah.
Dana.
So again, that's why I'm asking, I want to make sure that this is what you think is in everybody's best interest, I guess. Winter's hours for the next 2
But why
months.
is it Debbie? This is what the
Yeah.
community has.
And it's
asked
this
for.
isn't-
Us.
I came in asking for like a month extension. If you want to do 2 months, that gives us even more time to not crunch everything tomorrow, literally, to
yeah.
crack out a schedule for tomorrow. But legitimately, I have the same concerns, but looking at anything other than extending the winter hours is probably going to result in a union grievance. Going back to old hours is gonna be a nightmare if you go back to old hours and then you decide to switch to new hours, and you go back to old hours and say that we surveyed the public, but we're not gonna do it right now? Well, why did you give us the survey if you're not gonna do
So,
what you said?
but
is
I'm
on the
wondering, I
survey?
guess,
Understood what he said.
no harm, no foul. Is there anything that would be detrimental other than maybe sort of squeeze time to put together a, I guess, May schedule to table voting on permanent hours tonight and with the director finalists interviews, that doesn't, when we have these interim meetings, that doesn't prevent us from adding this very item to the agenda. In other words, this could be a priority item during any of those finalist interviews to add to those meetings, addressing the permanency that you've requested in part two, based on the survey.
So,
I agree with that.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I guess, the staff has been working extremely hard to cover for the director being out, the closure of the children's room, the closure of the conference room. I know that the carpeting went into the conference room, but we still aren't going to have the children's room for a few months. It's been a very, very tough year for our staff, and I think that granting them 2 months to stay with the winter hours, I think would really be appreciated. And I think we still have, I think they're still generous hours. I don't think that, if you look at other towns, I think that the winter hours are still, they're still very good. I personally think we should do the 2 months winter hours, and then we should try out the proposed schedule. And we're not saying that if we go to the new schedule, we're not saying that we have to stick with it forever. We could do it as a trial for a few months and then get some more feedback and see how it works out. And if it doesn't work out, we can go back to the old hours, or we can make other
Well,
adjustments.
I guess I would ask as chair that we split this and not take the two
But they need to plan ahead.
pieces together. But what I'm saying is that there's nothing to prevent, I think it would be smoother just to entertain a motion on what I think will be extending winter hours through March and April, okay? And then we can continue the discussion, have that behind us, and then speak to the permanency discussion separately. And any motions that would arise out of that would be taken separately.
So
Yeah.
if we, okay, so I guess just timing-wise, if we wait till next month to make the decision about, the following month, like, so right now, if we say we're gonna stick with winter hours for
why
March
don't
and
we vote
April?
on winter hours, and then we can immediately start discussing the
What
permanency,
happens next?
Yeah,
like today, right now.
Right.
Okay,
and
but
do that.
yeah, I don't know, I was just gonna say, I think, so I understand now, so what I understand is the trustees decide the hours
Right.
I
Of the
thought-
building, of the building.
of the building. What I was thinking is, I think it's good to have a library director on hand so that they are aware of that. I mean, I'm not saying that they're gonna make the decision, but I think it would be good, I mean, if that's possible. I think we
They're
should.
coming on board with everything being in flux. I don't
Right,
think.
but
that-
I just think, I don't know why we have to really hastily run into that. I think it's a great idea to go ahead for the March and the April winter hours, but I'd like more time to reflect on this. We just got it, I mean, I know it's a survey,
Then I will
that's
accept-
my attitude.
All right, thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and so,
but it,
I guess, let's sort of move this piece forward. I'll accept a motion regarding winter hours.
I make a motion that we extend winter hours for 2 months through the end of April.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Carrie and seconded by John. Do I have any further discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Yes.
So I understand what we're voting on. The
Yeah.
reason, so what Debbie came to us tonight is, we've surveyed the public. Here's the hours that they want. This is what we're proposing. But we need 30 days to implement the new schedule. And so what you're proposing is we give them an additional 30 days to let us digest this? Or what's the
Not
additional 30
necessarily.
days for?
So I guess, actually, so if you were proposing that we extend the winter hours for a month, as Debbie requested, and then the next month we switch to the proposed hours, I would be amenable to that as well. If that's what if
The
that
motion,
would
but
be.
the motion on the the motion on the
But
floor is sort of consistent with what I thought the discussion was, to maybe extend that.
It
but-
is, but I'm wondering why,
think they need
why,
more
why
time.
extra 30 days?
I
So,
think they need more time to
They're
be able to
burnt out.
schedule.
They
Well,
don't have a
if you're looking
director.
at the 30 days,
Staff need 30
honestly,
days' notice.
you have to have
Yeah,
30 days
yeah,
notice.
right.
If we have 30 days, if you say yes, you can extend it for 30 days tonight, that means literally tomorrow, the
Can't do
schedule
that.
needs to be done for April 1st, which we have a rough draft because it's kind of obvious. It's not too far off of what we've been doing for winter hours.
Could you
it's adding
tweak it?
more back in.
Could you tweak it
Sorry, go ahead.
as if that additional month of winter hours
The
existed?
proposed hours are very close to what the winter hours are, just adding Fridays a lot longer,
Yep.
and opening earlier. So it's not a huge departure from what we're doing currently, so it technically, like, in theory, it could be, tomorrow's not gonna be a great day, but it could be done for the first week, and then we look at shoring up the rest of the month of April. We don't have to have the entire month of April ready by Friday, but on Friday, in theory, we have to have something for the week of April 1st, because that's a Monday.
Right.
So if
But-
you,
but
but if you
this- but
extend
a-
it
an
for 2
affirmative
months.
vote- An affirmative vote on this motion would achieve that timeframe.
But I'm saying, if you just vote to extend it and you don't vote to have any kind of timeline in which you're voting on it, you're gonna vote to extend it again because you're not gonna give us the 30 days to do the
That's
schedule.
exactly
Right.
what I'm
And
thinking.
that's why I think,
No,
you
no,
know,
I think
so-
we have,
All right, not necessarily.
No, I
We
don't
may
agree
be
with that.
voting, we may be meeting off schedule in March, just because of the director interviews. We're not waiting till the end of March necessarily to meet again, is what, in other words, if there were none of these potential interim meetings, yeah, we'd be looking at March and we'd be here again having the same issue. But I anticipate that
So-
we will meet earlier than that.
So I'm okay with an additional 30 days. My point is, and you just pointed it out, you know, quite clearly, is at some point, we're gonna have to vote on this. And if we need 30 days to digest it, you know, that's fine. But if we vote on this next month, then they're gonna still have 30 days to put the new schedule in place, right? So why are we extending it an additional 30 days? I think it's for us.
so I was under the impression, Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the winter hours are reduced hours, right? They're 50 hours instead of
Yes.
the proposed 58 and the previous 60. So does that help the staff having the reduced hours? You mentioned the staff crunch and stuff like that, so I was under the impression that those two things were related.
They are. We do have a borrower services manager now. We were
Okay.
down a director, a borrower services manager, 2 full-time borrower services staff, and I want to say somebody else. We had one out on medical leave for
technical.
6 weeks, and we had someone traveling for 3 weeks that
Yeah.
they had earned internationally.
Kara
And
left.
oh, I'm sorry.
Kara left too.
Yeah, Kara was our borrower services manager and left with, she gave her 2 weeks' notice, but it was,
Yeah.
we still felt the crunch of that because you can't hire a manager in 2 weeks.
So you
Over the
could,
holidays.
have sort of, but,
We do have more people in place to fill the hours. We just need to make sure that,
and
We're
not
filling
to,
them.
not to put more work on your lap, but you could have in place possible contingent schedules or 2 contingent schedules.
no.
let's make it easier.
With all due respect, I'm not gonna do
I'm
that.
really getting,
So,
can we
so I'm,
just,
I'm
let's vote on
interpreting,
it, let's do
I'm
it.
interpreting that as the winter hours would continue to help the staff a bit, at least a little bit. And so that's why I'm voting for the 2 months of winter hours, and I think we should vote tonight on the 58 hours, so that's ready to go. If the new director comes in, if anything else changes, at the March meeting, we can discuss it again and re-vote. Maybe we hold off on like publicizing the new 58-hour schedule, just in case we do change anything up, you know, within the next, before the next meeting. But the staff will have that as the plan, and that way there is a plan rather than there's no plan. That's my thoughts on it.
So is there any further discussion on the motion regarding extending winter hours by 2 months?
I also wanted to throw in, I didn't mean to be dismissive about a future director,
Okay.
but it is the purview of the trustees to set the library hours, and I know
Right.
that we're just in this position where we've entrusted by default to do a bunch of things,
Right.
and now we're saying, don't do it, hold off for not indefinitely,
It's
but
not-
for a number of months until
disagree with
a
that.
director's onboarded.
Yeah,
So
I
it's a
mean-
little,
That's not what I was saying at all.
no, I know, and I didn't mean to be like
Understood.
dismissive. And I agree that they want input in the things that are going on in their building too. But it's just a matter of what kind of time frame within we can make things happen
Yeah.
So,
to be most effective.
any further discussion on the motion then to extend the winter hours through April? Hearing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, I
And
guess,
You didn't vote.
I said aye.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I guess, I'm not entirely sure about this, but I will also then, because there's a 4-1, I'll just take a roll call on that. Dana?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aaron?
Nay.
Roger, aye. I declare the motion carried 4-1.
Okay.
All right, all right, so May. I had a thought that, in the context of the discussion about people being, the board members being amenable to setting a permanent schedule tonight, I'm thinking that I'd be inclined to hold off on that or make it contingent on the town and the union agreeing that there's no adverse impact.
Roger, there's no impact. This is probably, I think this is maybe the third or fourth time that I've said that the town has said publicly to us, and, well, I gotta tell publicly, in our department meeting, that the library hours are determined by the trustees.
Right.
It's not, nobody's getting more hours, nobody's having hours taken away, no one's, and, unless it's something that they are not wanting to work part of, whatever, nothing is changing.
Yeah, so
We are working very hard to get everybody's hours in, and the winter hours push everything together so that people get the lunches that they're entitled to by law, that they're working the same number of hours.
So do we, if we are to proceed in that direction, do we have to call them permanent hours? Or would it muddy the waters if we said as of May 1, these will be the hours,
You
you
said
know?
they're the hours.
Or how about we can say
Or-
that we're
or
trying some new
temporary.
hours, and then we could market it that, like, we listened to your, we could say, we heard your feedback, we're gonna try these new hours, we'd like your feedback as to how they're working for you. And then we can, again, like, there's nothing to say that this is written in stone, that we have to stick with it forever. More data is better, and like, if people don't hear the hours change and they show up and the library is or isn't open, that's gonna give us more feedback,
Dana,
This may seem like a stupid question.
no stupid
So,
questions.
the difference between 50 hours and 60 hours is just the Saturday 2 to 6, is that it?
It's shifted earlier, Dana.
No, we
instead
open
of
it-
Oh, I
10
know
a.m.
that, but,
9 a.m., and then we're adding more hours in on Friday,
so
okay, earlier, and then,
and then
We'll have,
Friday
they'll
is
be open
longer.
till 6 on
so the
Friday.
big difference is that Saturday, you're closed at 2 instead of being open to 6?
Yes.
Okay,
That you can read through the
yeah.
information on that.
But let me-
Historically,
Yeah.
just a second,
All right, sure.
historically, we cannot staff that shift. 2 to 6 p.m., people do not want to stop what they're doing on a Saturday and come into work. They just don't. We had some consistent long-term employees that worked that. They retired and moved on.
Madeline,
And now we cannot get temps to come in and do it. Those are when we see closures, is
Right.
that we don't have people for the afternoon, and we either have to close early, or we shift them up to close early, or we move them down and open late. And that's more disruptive to patrons than.
And it just occurred to
consistent.
me that our original vote to have winter hours to begin with didn't set any mandate that we had to affirmatively vote them back in. In other words, if nothing happens, our extension of winter hours would necessarily revert to the old hours that occurred before winter hours.
It would, yes.
Right, so we
yeah.
can't, we have to, we did the right thing, obviously.
yeah,
Okay.
so
I'm-
I've spoken to the librarians, I think, at length about these types of changes in hours, and it sounds like anecdotally, this is in the majority of our patrons' best interest. And then, you know, with the data we have from the survey, that kind of backs up, for the most part, what these hours would be changing to. So instead of opening at 10 a.m., it's 9 a.m., and that helps some of the elderly community and the children's room visitors. And I mean, again, anecdotally, when I'm ever there from 8 to 9 p.m., I feel like I'm the only one there, you know, and so, you know, I'm working against myself here, but that's fine, because it's for the majority of the patrons who go to the library. I think we would, I think we currently, or well, previously closed at 6 p.m. on Fridays anyway, so it's just opening that hour earlier, and then Saturday just closing early. So I think this just conceptually makes a lot of sense. We have the data, and then we have the anecdotal data from the librarians as well.
It wasn't like anybody, people go, oh, well, what did you make the new I didn't make the new schedule to be anything. This is what it ended up sort of coming out to be and adding up and getting back to the
Mr. Chair,
58 hours we
can
had.
we
Yeah.
move the
Yeah.
discussion
need to
please
So
towards
I-
the 8 o'clock here?
I know,
So we
I know,
gotta
and we're gonna
go.
have to agree to fast-track the remaining part of the agenda, and I think we'll be capable of that.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Before doing that, I had one other question, hopefully we can wrap this up. What would be the reason not to discuss this with the town? And come, I thought the understanding was that these types of, I guess, potential changes in working conditions would be a discussion that would be a mutual
This
discussion.
isn't a change in working conditions.
But isn't that a discussion that would be a mutual one between the town and the union? Versus a union saying,
The change is not a change in working conditions. I don't know how many other ways I can say it. It's literally shaving 2 hours off, which the former director had added when they opened the new building and did not request extra staffing for, and we have not been able to staff those hours. And that's the bottom line. Or there's,
all
and
right.
there's no reason that they need to be involved in this.
I'm willing to entertain a motion,
discussion.
all right? But know that if anything adverse comes of this, we might be back to having this discussion all over again. You know, if there's, you know, if anything.
The town doesn't oversee the
You know what?
trustees, though, so I'm concerned as to why.
No, I'm talking about the necessary, I guess, marriage between the hours of the building and the staff schedules. In other words, they're kind of commingled. And so,
Can I say something? I'm just at a loss why we can't, we're gonna be meeting again. It's now March. I mean, it's, even if in March we decided to go with the 58 hours, we'd still have time to make all
Yeah.
the changes.
okay.
I don't know, I don't understand why we have to rush through it.
So if I could make a point, just knowing like planning schedules for staffing, planning for projects, planning for what events are upcoming. Our library staff is already so challenged with not having the children's room, now having to, move into the conference room, try to figure out how to use that space. If they're able to see that, what the feedback of the community was as far as hours, they can plan ahead and they can, have their schedules planned now so that they can work efficiently and they don't have to create schedules and recreate schedules. I think just knowing that we're gonna do this at least as a trial basis, I know I personally would really appreciate it if I were a member of the library staff.
And the schedule hasn't happened yet, so working conditions can't be changed until they actually happen, right? I mean, by
No
definition.
conditions are changing, Roger.
I think
Literally,
there's no discussion of
there's-
working
there's-
condition changes, so I don't think
So I'll accept
town.
the
I don't
motion.
agree with
Sorry,
you guys,
I
but
think,
that's okay.
Cindy, were you
Oh,
gonna,
I'm sorry.
did you wanna add something?
All the union needs is 30 days' notice of a schedule change.
Okay,
So it doesn't matter what the hours of the library are, we just need 30 days in order to know what our schedule is.
all right.
Doesn't matter when the hours are, it could be 9, it could be 10, it could be 4, it could be
Okay.
whatever.
Okay,
We just need 30 days.
all right.
to
Then
know what-
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to revise our library operating hours effective May 1st to the proposed 58 hours a week, which would include operating hours of Monday through Thursdays, opening at 9 a.m. and closing at 8 p.m., operating from 9 a.m. on Friday to 6 p.m. on Friday, and opening at 9 AM on Saturday, closing at 2 PM on Saturday.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Carrie, seconded by John. Do I have any discussion on the motion?
So with the new library, and something we didn't have in the old building was meeting space. And we're in a meeting space, right? And we're gonna be here till at least 9 o'clock, maybe later. I think a lot of meetings tend to happen, they don't end at 8 o'clock. They generally start at 7. I find that was a little hard, you know, when the only time you can really use the library as an adult is really from 5, and with this proposed schedule, 5 to 8 PM. Dinner time is, 6 o'clock. I probably won't use the library as much as I did in the past, especially with the new library and rooms. I know this is kind of what the survey kind of outlined, in that, most people's preference wasn't, to stay open till 9 o'clock, and, to let the kids use the library, early in the morning. But, I mean, 9 to 5, who are we really thinking about in 9 to 5? It's not anybody in this room, I'll tell you that.
We don't have 9 to 5.
No, I'm saying like 9 AM to 5 PM, I'm at work, We're all at work. So who are we really thinking about from 9 to 5 PM? Kids and maybe elderly,
Teenagers.
We have a large population. The vast majority of the people visit the library between 9 AM and 5 PM.
9 and 5 PM,
we-
okay.
People
As a
come to
closing
work.
manager, which I'm supposed to be closing in a few minutes,
Yep.
I've walked around, we do walkthroughs, and I walk around at 6 o'clock, and one day I was like, wow, like 22 people here, this place is hopping. Walk
Yep.
around again, 6:30, still the same, and I was like, maybe we're not doing a great thing. Walk around at between 7:30, they're all just leaving on their own.
Mhm.
We maybe have 1 or 2 people each night between 8 and 9 PM. And what we saw on the survey is I did go through, I didn't put that in here, but I did go through and pull out the people that said that they were adult professionals, or like telecommuting professionals or adult students, because those are the people I would assume that are using the library later in the evening. And there was 2 votes, I think there was like 6 people, there was like 2 votes for 8, 2 votes for 9, and 2 had no preference. I'm not even kidding. I was like, you cannot make this stuff up.
How big
So-
was the survey?
It was 300
260.
people, yeah.
Okay.
Aaron, I would
Okay,
just,
just-
in response to your comments, absolutely valid points, absolutely valid points. I would also remind the board that we also had significant discussions around the imbalance to that, being supportive of and listening to the employee concerns and what they also, all the various things that they have, may have expressed a concern for. And so, and one of those things too is that the raw numbers, if certain hours that were later are going to be a struggle to maintain proper staffing, that's also a consideration.
Okay.
That's all. So, any further discussion on the motion?
I don't think I'm going to agree, but what I was thinking, as far as the community room, is there a possibility that the community room could be open later? I mean, maybe we can entertain that at some point. So basically, what we're saying, if I get this, we don't really have enough staff to be able to really, if we want, we don't have enough staff to have more than 58 hours, and that's one reason why we can't find anybody on a Saturday to come in after 2 PM. That's what I'm hearing. And then
I'm
you're
hearing
saying,
that there are staffing,
that's what
staffing issues.
Debbie was saying. She wasn't
Staffing
able
2
to
to
find
6
anybody.
on a Saturday.
2 to
is
6.
Really hard to
Okay.
staff.
Okay.
And we have had events before where, I know there was a big zoning meeting and that type of thing, and that ran late, and the former director had just designated a person with the town to lock up the building.
Okay.
There've been, when you've
Okay.
had events where,
Yeah.
that have gone after
Yeah.
hours, that have done, there could be concessions made in the future if
Okay.
that's a
All right.
consideration
So,
for,
any further
meetings.
discussion on the motion? Hearing none? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not in favor of,
Okay.
of this new schedule.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And
Okay.
at some point, it's your prerogative to vote no.
Yeah.
And there's always a flexibility to rework this as we test this out.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah, absolutely. We want, I think, try it out, see
So
how it goes.
I think, again, to Aaron, your earlier point about the time at 5 of 8, I think we're ready to vote here. Not to shut anyone
Yeah,
down,
that's
but
okay.
that's sort of a hint.
Yep.
So any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, by roll call, Dana,
Nay.
Yes, yay.
Aye.
Nay.
aye. I think I'm required to vote, to declare this motion defeated because even though we're a majority of those present, our own bylaws state that an affirmative vote is 4. Are we in
Yeah.
agreement with that? Our own library trustees bylaws say that an affirmative vote is 4, and that it's a majority of the number on the board, not a majority of those present. And so I'm inclined to declare the motion defeated by not having attained 4 votes. And I would ask that someone on the quick log on to the library trustees bylaws on the graftonlibrary.org website. Not the library policies, but our own board policies. So I'm procedurally calling this correctly. Yeah, so,
John, are you able to access it?
It's not, I think my connection's not very good here.
Let me see if I
all right,
can.
what is it, Grafton 10? No, what is the passcode?
I'll have it in just a moment.
Okay.
I'm looking at
I'm
it. I
on,
just need
but,
to scroll
but
through.
I don't know where it is on the website.
It's under About, and then Trustees, and then Bylaws.
Okay,
All right.
all right, I'm there. Okay, so about trustees, by Board of Trustees bylaws.
Affirmative votes,
Okay,
there's something in there. It's only a
okay,
couple pages in length, I think.
Okay, so there's Article 2, membership, Article 3, responsibilities, Article 4, officers, Article 5, meetings, Article 6, committees, parliamentary rules, amendments, inconsistent provisions. Okay, so where about were you thinking?
It talked about that, not only a quorum, but also an affirmative vote is not a majority of those
It's-
present, it's a
okay.
majority of the 7.
Okay, so it says here, a quorum shall be 4 members.
Yeah.
So, so that is,
That, yeah, and that's a
Correct.
given. And-
Okay.
But as far as affirmative votes,
okay, let me see if I can search on affirmative. Find,
I don't see anything.
yeah, I don't remember ever hearing that.
That's good to double check.
It
it's not
might
up to
be
you to
in
prove
the-
that something didn't exist, but I'm pretty sure that I saw
I'm
it
happy to
somewhere.
hand over my computer if you'd like to look, Roger,
Perfect.
but I couldn't find anything.
All right.
I'll keep looking too.
Yeah, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to declare something defeated if it hasn't been.
I think it's in we gotta look at the the Mass General Laws, Chapter 78. That's what the bylaws are based off of. So that's what I'm looking at right now, see if I can find that. Board meetings.
Because I know we go by Robert's rules, and I thought that Robert's rules
Wouldn't it be in the bylaws,
spoke
though?
of majority of those present, provided a quorum was in the room.
Was all that
Right, but we do have a quorum present in the room,
Right.
and it was a
majority
majority of
is,
the
you got
of the
three
present
to
quorum.
2, that's a majority,
Yeah.
I think.
I
I think it passed.
I just want to make sure I don't mess this up, all right? And then we're back at square one. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So it speaks of a quorum being 4. I just wanted to confirm that if there was anything that further spoke to affirmative votes. Okay, a quorum shall be 4 members. That's all it says. All right, at the risk of the possibility of someone objecting to this at a later time, I'll declare the motion carried 3-2. All right. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Alright.
much, Debbie. Really
Now we will
appreciate- and
test the-
Cindy, thank you both.
Thank
for
you,
coming.
all right, thank you for coming. I will now, I guess, implore the board to really fast forward this next hour.
But this is my biggest problem with
Right.
these meetings, that we
Right.
fast forward the entire agenda, and we cannot do that every
Mhm.
meeting. I mean,
Right.
we don't give enough time to policy committee at the end, because it's at the end of the
Yes.
agenda.
Well, actually, today, I was actually gonna propose just moving it up.
But that's
Right.
fine,
I know.
but, you know,
Well, I would mention from I guess from a process standpoint, if we look at all the boards and committees in town and all the responsibilities that they have, some boards are busier than others. I would probably reasonably argue, maybe not every month, but every other month, that, take care, Deb. Thanks. That this board of trustees, and whether it's our own policy or whatever, meet twice a month. In other words, I know it's not on the agenda, I'm simply replying to your process comment, that I think there's a lot of stuff on the agenda that sometimes some months may require 2 meetings, and versus 1 meeting a month. I don't know of any board or committee in town that does as much as we tackle, that only meets once a month. And so, by splitting it up 2 meetings a month, we'd have more time to do this. That's not an invitation to sort of just draw out discussions by having more hours in a month to do this, but I'm saying that I think it's unprecedented that a board that addresses the stuff that we address at this magnitude, to only meet once a month, every month, is sort of insufficient. That's all.
okay.
Yeah.
I've been on the board for 9 years,
All right.
and.
He's schooling me. All
and-
right.
And
He's
we've
getting- all
absolutely
right.
been able to keep
Okay.
this to a 2-hour
right.
agenda.
Okay.
Sometimes it goes to 9:30, and that was not fun.
Okay.
I agree, but we really need to speed these things
Okay.
along. And what I would like to ask, I'm not gonna propose
Sure.
anything, is that, you know, we give each board member a voice,
Mhm.
have the opportunity to speak, respond to something, and then, you know, take a step back for a minute, let the conversation close, and then move on.
Right.
You know, no more than, I mean, I understand hours are very important,
Right.
and an hour, sure, you
Right.
know, that was warranted to go through that, but I think the deliberation just needs to
Okay.
be buttoned up. I think we can all agree.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, then
No,
certainly tell
no,
me I'm wrong.
no, I think that process can be sort of streamlined, and us sort of by self-reminder too.
Okay.
All right, so expiring Board Library Trustees terms, just let the public know that there are 3 terms that are set to expire for the May town meeting, not town meeting, the May election. Doug, Aaron, and Stephanie are expiring terms, and I know that Doug has taken out papers, and Dr. Teixeira has allowed me to share that she does not intend to run again. And so I'll just open up any discussion that anyone may have further on this agenda item. All right. Okay. All right, moving on. I had put this Board of Library Trustees reorg on the agenda sort of preemptively in advance of the first meeting after the May election is always going to be the reorg. But I'm sort of kind of feeling this past year and would be open to not necessarily tonight, but at our next meeting, consider a sort of early reorg if folks may be willing to step up as chair and vice chair. And I know that Doug is not here to speak to this. So does anyone have any comments on this at all? Okay. All right.
Well, I guess I just have a quick comment, I guess this is not a possibility, because as a chair and a vice chair, my thought, was there any way, because, is there any way that the vice chair and the chair could share some of the duties? So that,
Certainly, they could share duties, and maybe I haven't really communicated with you as much, throughout the year. But regardless, even if nothing happens through April, we would necessarily be in reorg mode anyway. So this also plants the seed that even if we remain the status quo through our April meeting, that this is necessarily. I don't intend on being chair for another year, is what I'm saying.
okay,
Yeah. In other
Okay.
words, I'll help in all the significant ways that a member can, but
Okay. okay,
I've
that wasn't.
got
okay.
work and personal stuff on my plate that I'll just not share.
Okay.
Other than that, it's just, balance. It's just, trying to
I get it.
get
Yeah.
some balance back in my life. And so I just want to
Okay.
let the board know that I plan on putting this on the agenda for next month to potentially take action if there could be a reorg, at least on the chair level. So, all right. 2023 Board of Library Trustees Annual Report for the 2023 Grafton Town Report. I sent that to you. I worked on it, finalized it. I wasn't on the board until May, so I went through all the meeting minutes and the whole 9 yards, and including policy and everything. Put this 3-pager together. I don't know. I sent it early this morning. Not sure if anyone has had a chance to read it, but I know that this is beyond the deadline, and I think the trustees, and I'll take ownership for this, Select Board Town Administrator's Office, I think trustees are the only holdout. So the plan is, I guess, this stuff is going to the printer on Friday, and so we really need to vote on this tonight. I'll entertain a motion to accept the draft report of the Board of Library Trustees for 23 as I distributed.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 draft Board of Library Trustees Annual Report.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. One of the things I just wanted to, all right, so do I have any discussion on the motion, first of all?
Yes, I think we just, we gave you the authority as the chair to just write it last time and submit it. So we don't need, it's nice that we can review it.
And I wasn't sure about that, and I'm putting the cart before the horse, because I noticed that very comment in the draft minutes that we will address in the next agenda item.
Yeah.
And I thought, I guess by practice, that other committees did this. And I think maybe I did it as a courtesy, so I didn't misrepresent anything and, by accident, and that, and such.
Okay.
So, is it by I guess by consensus, is it everyone's understanding that you gave me the authority to
Yes.
to move forward with it?
Yes, that was my
Oh,
understanding.
okay, all right,
Yep.
all right, then I guess, one of two things could happen. Either, John, you, withdraw your motion, Aaron, you withdraw your second, if that would be in conflict with the agreement we had last meeting.
Yep, I'll withdraw my second.
All right, you do it.
And I'll withdraw my motion.
All right, all right. And I guess what I then plan on adding then is one sentence to then the bottom of the second page
Okay.
regarding us having collaborated with the Friends and the Grafton Capital Campaign, Inc. I felt that that sentence was kind of incomplete and it was sort of hanging chad. And I plan to add, we thank both groups for their continued support of the library's programs and projects. So that's the only thing I was going to add to it.
That's
So,
a nice
sounds fine.
addition, yeah.
all right, so, all right then, then I will submit that, to, Cindy Ide, tomorrow. All right.
So Roger, you'll just send us the updated version.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. What I'll do is I'll send it to Cindy and CC the trustees, yeah.
Perfect.
And, we
I
will
think
not
you
be
did-
omitted from the
Yeah,
town
you did it.
report.
Looks
did a
like
good
nice
job.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
I think you did a great job.
thank you. Sorry for waiting, till,
Well, that's,
the 11th hour on this, but, I think I think it accurately represents all the stuff that we
Yeah.
tackled and, allows proper, appreciation and thanks to various people in town, so.
I think great idea,
All right,
great.
thanks. All right, so, draft minutes of January 24th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the January 24th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Carrie, seconded by John. Any discussion on the motion? All right. I had just two comments. On item number 2 on the first page, selection of library director screening committee, the motion included our assistant town administrator, William Blake. I think that was omitted. It looks like there's a committee of 4 when it's a committee of 5. So.
It is a committee of 5.
Yeah, and so, so that, that first bullet point would be to appoint Doug, Carrie, Sarah, and Allison, and our Assistant Town Administrator, William Blake, to the screening committee.
Okay.
And the only other revision I had, it actually isn't a revision necessarily. All right, so the trustees do not need to approve or vote on the reports. Okay. I initially thought it was the trustees didn't need to approve or vote on just the library report. And we're, I guess, in agreement that neither report was going to require a vote, but I would add that in the second line of the first bullet point on page 5 regarding the 2023 library report, it's listed on the second line as the 2023 Director's Report, when it's actually the 2023 Public Library Report. It's not the Director's Report.
Okay.
All right. All right. And those are the only 2 things that I had noticed. Is there any other discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimously. I will accept a motion to approve the bills for warrants 31 through 35 for the amounts and sources as presented in the packets and emails.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Aaron, seconded by,
I
Sec-
second it.
all right, motion made by Aaron, seconded by Dana. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay. All right, ongoing business grant updates. I had emailed everyone regarding the updates. And for MPLCP, we requested the necessary this is from William. We requested the necessary documents from the construction team. The as-bills were provided to us. Again, even though I'm speaking fast, I guess Shannon can copy and paste the, whatever. The contract closeout documents and the lien waivers will be sent once we reach an agreement on retainage with CTA. Once these are in hand, we will be able to complete the final report and submit for our last payment. So that is the building program grant update under 8A, and then the Mass Historic Commission MHC update under 8A is the contract has been awarded. We are waiting for their bid bond and insurance to execute a contract. There will be a kickoff meeting in early March so that work can start ASAP. All right. So 8B, flood remediation, contained three particular bullet points. Children's room carpet has been ordered, and the current estimated lead time is 8 to 10 weeks for delivery and installation.
I'm sorry, 8 to 10?
And then, second bullet point, the children's program room closet has the shelving reinstalled but will not be anchored. Baker's racks have been set up in the children's room office, but not set up on tracks. Once these two installations are completed, we will be able to begin moving resources and prepping the room for recarpeting. And then the third bullet point being carpet in the community room has been replaced. I don't know, cove base, I don't know if that meant cover base, but the word cove base has been installed. And the children's department is in the process of setting up the space to be used for limited programming. All right. So that's the update on those. And then, is there any update on teen room carpet? I think that,
Well, Debbie mentioned it, but she said that Debbie said when she was here that it was not approved by
Okay.
somebody, but she didn't have a chance to elaborate.
all right, so without elaboration, in the absence of anyone weighing in on that, I guess I'll move to 8D. Any FY '24 budget updates? I'm not aware of any. Okay,
Roger,
Yeah.
if I may.
yeah, please.
So I received a request tonight via text. Obviously I was not able to get it
Sure.
onto the agenda, but a request from Eileen, head of accounts, and William and Mary Loria at the town.
Okay,
It's not on the agenda, so I don't know if I can ask for it, but it's about asking for state aid for some sprinkler system repairs. Can I ask for that now, or should I wait?
I mean, it's not on the agenda, and we don't have supporting documents.
Okay.
Is it something that's, can wait? Or no, leaf sprinkler repairs? Okay, is that
Yeah.
something that can be deficit spended? I can't imagine that if there's supporting documents and there's money there, that we would say no to that?
Right. So our repair and maintenance budget is empty.
Okay,
So these are repairs. They did a sprinkler inspection in December. They found a couple of things. I have the quote. A couple of things needed to be fixed. So we just need to be able to take it out of state aid.
so what numbers are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 1,267.
All right, and you had a question,
And I
Terry?
guess what's the urgency, like, if we don't do this immediately, like, what's the risk or the?
It's not safe.
Yeah, I mean, it is a health and safety thing, but
Okay, so
also
we
we're
can-
trying to get our building permit, certificate of occupancy finalized. It's gonna hold this up another
We did-
month. We've been,
And it's
We need to approve
1,127.
We need
so-
to-
Yeah,
approved.
but the thing is that it's really not on the agenda.
okay.
I
No,
don't-
that's why I'm leaving it up to you. It's
But
up-
on the flip
yeah.
side, how would you normally approach this stuff? In other words, I think there are probably times during the year that there's all sorts of things that any department could take a gamble that, all right, there's something that's needed,
Mm-hmm.
there's funds for it, it's just that we haven't gone through the proper channels to approve it,
Right,
yet there's every expectation that there's no opposition to it.
right.
And I think that's what I'm hearing here. So,
Well, I guess, is
Are
there?
we able to do it? Because I'm concerned about,
Right.
there's some
And-
issues around,
and here's,
funding, I think, if we
right.
don't have
And
any.
here's what happens, and again, this is the infamous open meeting law of which we've spoken, that we can't just take votes, deliberate and take votes on items that aren't reasonably on the agenda. The public really has to have some reasonable expectation of the items.
I would argue that it comes under construction updates, and this is related to the building, and
Okay.
this
It
is
is,
something
yeah.
that we need for the building. It's not a random item, and I think that it's an urgent item that we need to
Right.
approve.
I think you're convincing me, as I had my blinders on, to
Yeah, it's
the-
construction right there.
the budget update, all right? And
Yeah.
so, I guess, so this is construction-related, you would say?
It's the
Building
related,
building
yeah.
related.
We need to build, we want to get the building permit. That allows us to get the grants.
Right, okay.
And
All
we're
right.
waiting for a final grant, I believe. the
All right,
final-
I'm convinced, Okay, the thing is that do we have a bid? Is there an estimate here?
Yes,
Okay.
so
Who's the
it's,
vendor?
it's, East Coast, East Coast Fire and Ventilation, and the total is $1,267.
Okay, so what we're then doing is that we're revisiting then the MPLCP update under 8A, the first bullet point. All right, then we'll just revisit that, and so that would be library state aid?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Carrie. Do I have a
Second.
second? All right, seconded by John. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those, I'm
One
sorry.
quick thing, I would just say that if we could get, after this meeting or whenever, just the,
The invoice or
yeah,
the estimate? or-
the itemized stuff, just of like what it is. I'm just curious what.
I think we'll have to sign it, right? Like.
Yeah, Eileen has a purchase order in her office, so she's.
When the bill comes in, we'll see it and everything, right?
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Sorry,
that's
I
fine.
didn't understand what the motion was.
The motion was to fund this repair through state aid figures
And it's for 1,000,
for
One
$1,267.
1,267.
And even though we don't have a backup invoice in front of us, it would reasonably fall under building program grant update, construction update, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Or would it be flood and so it's not flood remediation and construction updates. It's non-flood related, correct? All right. So it would be part of because so I think it reasonably falls within MPLCP. Does that answer your question, Aaron?
No, I hadn't heard
Oh,
what the
I'm sorry.
motion was,
Okay.
because I think you said something and then it was so moved, so I didn't hear what you
Okay.
had said.
Yeah, it was for $1,267 from library state aid for this East Coast fire and ventilation repair
Yep.
for the sprinkler system. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay, and so Shannon, was there any budget, other sort of FY24 stuff you had?
No.
All right, so IT update is in the director's report, so it looks like a one-sentence thing, so I don't think it needs to necessarily be commented on separately. I think this has been a placeholder, so I'll just defer to the director's report. Anyone have any comments on any IT issues? All right, any IT issues with interfacing with doors or any passcodes or key codes that you're aware of?
No, I think a lot of that's being worked on. Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did, it's not really an issue, but just as an update, we did just transition to a new event calendaring system. It's called LibCal. You'll see it on the website,
Yeah, got
so
an
it's much
email.
more user-friendly.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
How did it, how'd the migration go over to the new system? Was it a lot of data entry, or were they able to migrate from, or upgraded the existing system?
No, the existing system is going to be scrapped. It's very archaic. So this is a new system that, I hand-entered maybe 20 things, but it wasn't an egregious amount of work. It
Okay.
wasn't too bad.
Because we don't have any, our policy states that you can't really book things more than like 4, you can't just book something indefinitely,
Right.
so 20 items is reasonable.
Yeah, it was not more than an hour's worth of work, I would say. And then other departments updated, the children's updated their schedule, and it looks great so far.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Did you have any questions? All right. And I think 8F and G, we've always had as placeholders, and I think we discussed that we didn't anticipate anything, but
Well,
do you have, Dana, any capital campaign issues or discussion of anything?
Well, these aren't placeholders. These are usually updates from the
Okay.
subcommittees.
Okay.
Well,
We're not
th-
really
that
Well,
one
they're
is.
not subcommittees.
Sure.
And that, I think, was the issue of whether to
Right.
keep it as a placeholder.
I know that we want to move forward. We don't have any updates.
Okay.
We do know that I'm pretty sure everybody's aware of what the capital campaign has done. We raised over $1 million. We've been working on projects that were, directed by the library and people from the building committee and whatnot. So we have no updates.
Okay.
We have to wait until the spring to complete like 2 projects, and then we pretty much have our work done.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Dane, Carrie?
Yep.
Anything
So
for the Friends?
the Friends, I do think this is a continuing item because, I'm acting as the liaison to the Friends. So, but I'll keep it brief. So Egg Hunt is scheduled for Saturday, March 30th. There's going to be 2 hunts, one at 10, one at 11. Tickets will be $5 and will be on sale starting on the March 1st or 2nd. So yeah, that's wonderful. The next Friends Board meeting will be at 7:30 on Tuesday, March 12th. And then I just wanted to extend a thank you again to the Friends for generously, again, extending the ability of our children's librarians and staff to utilize the Friends Corner. We're thrilled that the children's room is able to move into the conference room, but they did submit a request to the Friends to continue to utilize the Friends Corner to allow for accessing children's materials because there's shelving in there and it's a better setup for doing checkouts.
Sure.
It does put a burden on the Friends in the ability to raise money through the ongoing book sale, but there, it was agreed to allow it to continue.
Right.
Of course, we're hoping, the carpet, we're hoping to get back to regular business as
All right.
soon as we can for the whole library. So, so again, I just wanted to say thank you to the Friends for,
Yes,
for
absolutely.
extending that
Thank you,
courtesy.
friends. Mhm.
Thank you, Friends. All right. John, walkabout.
So good news, I did the walkabout on Monday, mostly indoors, and I really just didn't see anything new that needed to be addressed that we haven't already discussed at length at past meetings. So I did take a look at the exterior of the building on the Upton Street side, and it doesn't look any worse, but it's kind of the same things that we've been discussing with the gutters and the drainage and the splash up and potential, luckily minor flooding on the teen room side. So
So who's doing March? Where do we have that schedule? Who's doing March?
we have not had a schedule for a while. I've just been doing it because we haven't really been discussing.
And you do it so well.
You do.
Now, do you
I'm-
object to doing it for March?
I know other trustees have their other things that they have going on, so I'm happy to keep doing it. So,
Alright.
yeah.
We could take it month by month,
Yeah.
you're not necessarily
Yeah, the only thing I would add is like, it's one of those things where if you look at it long enough, you become kind of blind to things. So eventually it'd be nice to change it up, but I'm happy to continue for now on, for now, just for simplicity and, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah, so I'll just add that generally, so that, to your point, John, you're not really, you can blind to the same things, or you say, I talked about this the last time.
Mhm.
Usually we have 2 people that either alternate.
Yep. Is that-
So
Are you
that'd be nice.
volunteering, Aaron?
Not at the moment, but certainly, that was something that worked well in the past.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe we can consider that.
Yeah, we can talk about it again next meeting if we have time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Item 10, moving on to the second page of the agenda, FY '25 budget. All right, so in our last meeting, we were pointed to an FY '25 budget document that I had to download from ClearGov, I think, and then I got an email that it was waiting in my inbox. And it's a 135-page budget that really doesn't speak too much about the library except a request to go from I don't know, 1 more FTE. All right, so I didn't see any of the supporting documents that led up to that document. So I guess I have a couple of questions. Number 1, what document or documents would Eileen or others have compiled to make the budget requests and detail the needs? And then the second is that I am awaiting a return call from our town accountant, Mary Loria, to see what other things that she may have compiled that would give us a more detail or information about the library. I know that we wanted someone to come in. I think it may have been Mary, but I had not landed on any detailed library information that detailed all the needs of the different departments and what the requests were to finally land on what I think William had mentioned is like a 1.2% budget increase from the current fiscal year. Did anyone land on any FY25 budget items on the website pertaining to the library? All right. See, I don't know what Eileen would have put together, but I'm awaiting a call back from Mary Laurie, our town accountant, to get a sort of summary of all the stuff that went into that, but also potentially to either come before us, or I know that the various meetings in March that the Finance Committee has with department heads may take care of that, sort of kill two birds with one stone. I'm not sure if we need to have her necessarily come in separately to address the budget.
I would propose that we have a separate meeting just to review and understand the budget, especially since we don't have a library director. I think we really need to understand what's included in it. So if we can find out, the answers to the questions that you had, and then schedule a meeting, I think
Yeah.
that would be warranted.
Because the larger document actually was very thorough with all the budget messages in arriving at how they sort of rationalized a sort of approach to government in planning all the items that went into that 135 or so page document. But there was really no detail provided.
When is the
about it.
budget due? Excuse me.
I'm not sure. I know the Finance Committee meets typically 3 meetings, 3 full Saturdays, and other week in March and other weekdays.
Doesn't it have to be completed by that? Isn't that what they're reviewing?
Yeah, I don't know what their schedule and deadlines are, but I
Okay.
will speak, when Mary, I can follow up with
Okay.
email to obtain that information. I'm sure the town administrator and assistant town administrator would have those same docs. So,
Is she going to present it?
I don't know. I know that we had,
Or would that be?
we had
be that
talked
William?
about what Carrie just said. We had talked about having her come in, especially in light of not having
Yeah,
full-time
I
director.
think we need to be able to understand before it goes before the Finance Committee, we need to understand
Yeah,
what's in it.
because
you
it
know?
should be,
What's the
Right.
logic, like,
I
does it
mean,
make sense to
normally the
us?
library director presents and
Right.
then
Right.
trustees go
And
with her to
support.
the finance
Right.
department for support, and they review it, and sometimes they have questions, sometimes they
Right.
don't.
All right. All right,
If
then,
I may just add,
yeah, please, Shannon.
my understanding is that back in October, the different department heads were asked to provide their input about, what additional money you need, any changes. And the children's department head, Sarah, said she did that. The problem is that's not the same borrower services manager anymore, and obviously the director is not there anymore, and there's a new teen manager. So with all those changes, we have the detailed breakdown of what was kind of worked up in October, but we don't know, what of those numbers made it into what was submitted to the select board. So I asked William to send me,
Oh,
It was it was submitted to them already?
Evan supposedly presented something to the select board.
Okay.
That's what I heard here in this meeting. Someone said that. Maybe it was even William.
okay, so it's possible then that there could be maybe something separate that may be in a select board meeting packet that's separate from the budget document.
Might be.
It isn't even like you can't even open it. You have to request that it be compiled and emailed
No, I
to
went
you.
through that as well, and it was.
And that it could take up
yeah.
to 3 hours. It only took 15 minutes, but it was an exercise in frustration, and the grayscale font and tiny print was less than ideal.
Right.
But-
So the question, I guess, is what was submitted to the town back in October, November, does that encompass all the needs that the new managers
Okay.
would want to see? And Eileen and I have discussed, the example that I told you about last time was, we need about $9,000 in there for the Xerox machine,
Okay,
which is not in there. So
okay.
things like that, someone needs to have an eye on and make sure
Okay.
that they get in there.
All right, so you requested that from William or Evan?
I've requested it from William, and he said he would get us the updated numbers
Okay.
today, so.
Oh, so you'll just
Okay.
forward, if you could just forward it
Yeah,
to us,
yeah.
that'd be awesome. And everyone just pour through it and digest it as much as possible. Okay. All right, moving on to policy updates. Aaron, 3D printing policy.
Yep, so we presented, John and I are the current members of the policy subcommittee. With the February being broken up by school vacation and travel and whatnot, we didn't meet because we felt that we had policies that were ready to go to the board for vote.
Okay.
So that's what you have in front of you. The 3D printer policy, I think this was prior to when I joined the board or I inherited it, because John, I think this was one that we were working on when we started working together.
Yep.
And, you know, at the time, it wasn't right for the teen room. But this is something that Debbie, as the new teen room manager, said that she's ready for this, and the community and the teens are ready for this. So that's what you have in front of you.
right.
And I can speak to
Good.
the other one also. But, and the fine-free policy was just a revision, because we wrote it during the pandemic as kind of an interim to provide relief to the community. But now this is a more permanent policy because it really aligns with Massachusetts libraries who've gone fine-free.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't have a policy in place, or do we?
For which?
Fine-free. It's just,
It's a pandemic policy that's kind
Oh.
of stood.
oh, so it's currently in, okay.
Yeah, so this is the formal policy.
All right, so let me ask you this. Does the pandemic policy need to then, does it reference stuff that should be taken out if we vote this forward?
This is the updated one.
He updated it.
Oh, sorry, it's not a pandemic policy. It is a fine-free policy.
Oh, okay.
That really spoke to why we did it during the pandemic. kind
Oh,
of.
oh,
You
okay.
can take a look at it. It's on the website.
Oh, okay.
It's a very
Gotcha.
shortened policy. It was a
All right.
few statements,
Okay.
but this is the permanent
Yeah,
policy.
I agree with this. The whole idea of collecting pocket change and expending more resources is, in my opinion, not worth it. But, all right, so before accepting a motion on the 3D printing policy, all of these go to town council. When was the last time, I saw the initials that would have reflected Ginny Kramer on the document as our then town council. And the original date of the document, I think, is August, but then was it revised since then? August of '22, not 20, or was it, no, I think it was August of '22. So the question is, that was prior to the union agreement being in place. So, is there anything about, like, staff expectations, and then there's things about
So-
volunteers? Does
so
that
my-
impact working conditions?
My understanding, I believe I can speak for Debbie here. Debbie is the teen room
Manager.
director and,
Yeah.
or manager, and so I believe she was asking us to push this through. So she's on board with the policy and would like to get the 3D printer online so the community can start using it.
All right, it was just a matter of the timing of the last update.
I think you're right.
Predated it,
I
so
think it might predate you're saying it predates the,
the ratification of the union
thank you,
contract.
yeah.
All right, so, but there's no concerns that this somehow changes working conditions?
Cindy, would you have any comment on that as a union representative?
I have not seen the
Okay,
Okay.
not the updated one.
all right.
Well, I do know that one of the things we really wanted to try to do is get that 3D printer in use. And one of the things we really need is this policy.
Right.
So Debbie has reviewed this, correct?
Right.
Do we know?
But she's not a representative of the union.
Right.
So
Oh,
the-
she isn't?
No, so the,
I thought she said she was the union, Debbie.
no, she's maybe
She's in
part
the
of the
union.
union.
Oh, I know, I
All-
thought
all
she
the-
said I
all
am
the-
the union
No,
almost.
no, all the employees right now that are not just temps are part of the union,
Right,
okay? But she's not one of the union stewards,
Yeah, so Cindy and Sarah,
Sarah.
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Sarah Bannister, they generally will review these. So
So,
we can certainly agree to table this until the union has had an opportunity to read through it.
that would be
Um,
good, and if we could do that soon,
Yep,
because
think
I
that
know
would be
this
fine.
is,
So we certainly don't need to, I mean, we can entertain a motion in that regard, but
Or we could just, by consensus, just,
Table
you know, table it.
Yep.
All right.
Just one more question. So, does there have to be a legal review of these two, or is it just certain policies that need to have legal review?
all of them generally
All of
have
them do.
legal review, yeah.
And okay, and so these have been
This one
reviewed too?
has, yeah.
Okay.
This one has, and the sort of hanging chad was whether it had occurred prior to the ratification of the union agreement,
Okay,
that's all.
sorry,
So I guess that the outstanding piece would simply be the union review, correct? It wouldn't need to
So-
go back to our
Can that be
current town
done?
council.
do you think, do we have to wait for a whole month to be able to approve it? Could we maybe
Yeah, in other
approve it
words,
at one
we
of our
would-
meetings that we're gonna have?
In other words, there's certain things we could, well, I don't know how long the interviews will be, so I would caution against this hodgepodge, adding additional agenda items that may require lots of discussion, but it sounds like this one is more routine.
Can I add an email I received directly from Debbie? She said, I went back to review minutes of the policy subcommittee to see where we are on the policy. It appears that it went through legal and is ready for approval. We were waiting on union feedback as to whether the 3D printer would count as additional duties. As a new head of teen services, that is no longer an issue. I have been running it for in-house staff use in the past few weeks, and we are ready to welcome the public to the world of 3D printing. So I understand she's not a union representative, but I don't know if that,
I would want to table this, and I don't anticipate much discussion at our next meeting.
It's too bad, for a whole month, that's too bad.
But, no, I mean, that does, well, I mean, I guess.
I'm not
does-
disagreeing, I just wish maybe we could do it at another time, that's all. Once it, so who's
But
gonna
is
make
this,
sure?
is this ready to go online except for our vote?
Yeah,
the 3D printer's like working,
Yeah,
and
we've had it
she
for
has been using
years.
it for different things for the library.
And who
so.
else is of staff is working on this?
we've had it for like
stuff?
3 years, haven't we?
Who would use the 3D printer? Is it like who would operate it? I kind of assume anyone else in the teen room,
Okay.
but I don't know.
And the other
sure.
thing too is that it's the idea of, the word volunteers is in this 3D printing policy. And so there was a question I had of whether volunteers can't do the work of paid staff. So in the absence of volunteers, this thing would still be up and running and functioning, correct?
Yeah, I thought the patrons are actually using it, aren't they?
So is it self-serve?
No, it says,
No,
no,
it's
no,
not
no.
self-serve.
They used to do it.
No, it
No,
says
you have
a
to
number
put it in
four.
order, you have to
Okay.
put it in order.
Yes, the library
okay.
staff run
Okay.
the printer.
Gotcha.
And-
And
and
that was the
volunteers.
challenge before, is that the library staff didn't want to run the printer. And
Okay.
now the new head of the teen room says she's the staff for the teen room, and they're ready to run it.
But if she's not present, does that mean it has to get shut down because no one else is willing to run it?
Or her or her designee, or people who are trained to use it.
All right.
Then why number 13, we say by using the 3D printer, the patron assumes all responsibility for it.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying that if someone needs assistance, that someone is actually
That,
working.
that's, if you read that, that's about patented, trademarked, and copyrighted
Okay.
materials.
Okay,
That's not,
all right.
the patrons are not meant to operate it, at least at this time.
I think we were thinking of that originally, but probably if we really thought about it, it doesn't make sense. Okay, I get it.
Is it possible for us to provide our approval pending approval by, review and approval by the union? Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Thank
I
you.
make a motion.
All right,
That's
all right,
good.
go for it.
Yeah,
All right.
I make a motion to accept the 3D printing policy pursuant to the review and approval by our union representatives.
Second?
Well, not our representative, their,
Our-
yeah.
Well,
The
yeah,
I thought you meant the boards, the libraries represented, right, okay.
yeah, our library's union representative.
Did you get that, Shannon?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, and so Carrie made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Do I have any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
None opposed, declare the motion carried unanimously. Directors' reports and
The
stats.
fine
Oh,
free.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I don't think we
Fine
actually
free.
approved fine.
Oh, I'm
We-
sorry,
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah,
we
yeah.
did. We did it.
Oh,
We only
geez,
did-
okay, yeah, 11B, fine-free policy. So, and do I have a motion to accept the fine-free policy?
So I just have a question on this. So this one also needs to be reviewed by the union, Cindy, the fine-free policy? You haven't seen that one either?
I don't think it does, because it wouldn't be a change in practice, because we're
Correct.
doing a fine
Right.
anyway.
Perfect,
Right.
okay.
Doesn't really affect.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the fine-free library policy.
All right, do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimously. Directors' reports and stats, read it cover to cover. Awesome work by a ton of people. I wish that, everyone took an opportunity to read just 1 month of a director's report as part of their book club, to appreciate all the good work of the library, staff. So, and everyone who compiled this is like, as I read this, I'm really impressed by the scope of services that the library provides, so.
So I just have a question.
Yeah, please.
So I think and this is more for Shannon, if you don't have the answer, that's fine. I think we had been talking about laptop use,
Yes.
Right. in that it was up to the staff to determine, the procedures on how they want to. So it doesn't say too much in the director's report about that, but do you have any additional information?
Yes. So as of last week's department head meeting, we have, or not me at all, but I'm not taking any credit for it, but
Yep.
the library staff has written the policy and the procedure and given it to William to review, and we're just waiting on his okay, and then it will be implemented.
So Williams involved because,
Because of being the interim director, or representing Evan, the interim director.
just making sure there's nothing that's, just oversight, right?
Right,
Got it.
right.
Okay.
But other than that, once, I believe Debbie was just following up with him to get the final okay, and then we're gonna do a run-through on our professional development day next week, testing out the checkout procedures, and then should be ready to go soon.
So, all right, and thank you for compiling this report, Shannon.
Of
And all
course.
of your work toward getting this all together. All right, so that was approved, the fine-free policy, director's reports. All right, no public input, I don't see anyone here. Policy subcommittee is. No, you're part of kind of the rep, like you're a union rep. I'm talking.
She doesn't have to be here. She wants to be here.
No, but when I talk about public, I'm talking about people that have come in from like sort of the outside.
We had somebody.
We're just-
You're not the outside, you're the inside.
We're just,
I know you're
Bragging
busting
on
me,
you.
right?
Do you have anything to add, Cindy?
that's a good question.
No, so, all right. Next meeting, policy subcommittee, that's still tabled? Like, as far as new stuff, that's still kind of on hold?
John and I will work out a date, because we do want to determine what more, because there is some policies to review that we feel are ready. We just need to have a final look at them,
Okay,
Thank you, yeah,
to
that's.
bring them back to the board.
okay,
We just didn't have time to meet last month.
okay. Thank you. And then, Friends, you had mentioned,
Tuesday,
Carrie.
March 12th at 7:30
7:30,
PM.
yeah, all right. Library trustees, our next regularly monthly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, March 27th at 7 PM, but it's possible that we would meet earlier regarding possible interviews as you're
Yeah,
winding
so,
down.
so we have the
Yeah.
executive session, number 15, right? Are we going
Well,
into executive
n-
session, or
no.
is
It's a
it?
placeholder, right?
It is a placeholder in anticipation for these type of, upcoming contractual discussions. And such. And so I had put that as a placeholder in the event that we would potentially touch base. And so I anticipate that we would keep this on and we
Well,
would
I
be
do
going.
have,
She
again,
has
I have an update. I don't need to talk about anything that's sensitive. I'm not gonna say names or anything, so I
Right.
don't think it's anything that we have to go into executive
No,
session
I
for.
just understand that it's going well and I think you may be down to 3 finalists.
Well, maybe we should let her
Yeah,
give
I'd love
it.
to hear you.
She's in charge.
Yeah, please.
That would be good.
Yeah, so we did receive a number of interested candidates. So we have, as we discussed before, we have a very nice committee of 5. So I'm chairing the committee. Doug is my fellow representative as a trustee. We have our head of Children's Library Services, Sarah Bannister, and Allison Kusher, our head of Technical Services, and our Assistant Town Administrator, William Blake. We reviewed all of the submitted resumes. We made an initial selection of 5 candidates. We conducted 2 of those interviews last night. We're scheduled to do a third on tomorrow night on Thursday. We did schedule 2 interviews where the candidates did withdraw before we had a chance to interview. So at this point, we've conducted 2, and we have another one. We are planning to make recommendations, to further candidates, along, but we don't feel ready yet to kind of announce what that's going to be, but we do feel confident at this
Right.
point that we will have, by the end of this week, some candidates to recommend. So I would say, that maybe we start looking at availability next week, to have, or the week after, depending on everybody's schedules, to schedule second interviews.
Right.
And it's possible that, if we don't accept the candidates, that we, would have additional rounds, but we have reviewed all of the submitted applications at this point and have made a determination on all of them as to whether or not we were comfortable doing a first, round, and then, we've scheduled all those, and so we should very quickly have a recommendation as far as how to proceed.
Thank you for sharing these efforts.
yeah, no.
Yeah, and.
Oh, it's really, it was a
Then the finalists,
wonderful
so the
team.
final
yeah.
3 would be in a public session, that those, the. who
Well, we're
come
shooting
before-
for 3, we can't say that there's gonna be 3, we're only gonna put 3 if we
No,
feel
up to, I think we
comfortable.
set up to 3, I think. And so whoever comes before as a finalist, that would be in public
Is
session.
it in public? I don't remember that being
Yeah.
in public.
The
I don't-
for finalists in front of the main board, it's public.
Mm.
It's no longer executive session.
So that was changed? Okay.
No, it's part of the open meeting law. In other words, when
Okay.
you're screening applicants and such, you've been in executive session, but when we're actually, when you've sent us finalists in front of the main board, that would be public session. And I can double check that. I thought it was.
It's okay. I think
thought it was
before when we
understood.
did it, might have been before we ever broadcast, years
Oh.
ago when I was involved with it.
Right. I know, yeah, and who showed up to the meetings anyway, so they may as well have been executive session. No, those would make the minutes and everything, but I can double check on that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
All right,
So the executive session would be after we conduct those interviews, when we convene to discuss the candidates then, after the
I'm
fact.
not exactly sure. I would have to
We have to-
read, and I would invite
Yeah.
your committee members to
Yeah.
read the open meeting law. And if there's any questions about that, the Attorney General's office on open government or something like that usually gives 24-hour turnaround time. They have an email address where you could pose that question about the open meeting law, and they would provide a reply. So if there's any question about
Okay.
the parameters of what
Okay, I will
level of
absolutely,
interviews.
so before our committee forwards the final candidates, we'll make sure that we're square on exactly how it's gonna proceed before we communicate with the candidates, so they know what to expect. So I will, absolutely take that on and
Thank
make
you so
sure that we
much.
do that. Yeah,
All right.
no, I will do that.
All right. guess we're all set to accept a motion to adjourn, but prior to doing that, I guess, if you could all maybe just email me your kind of better nights to, that, not that anyone has, gobs and gobs of time and every night's free, but, yeah, better times in your schedule and days of the week to try to get inter-meetings together, inter-meeting or meetings, so, anyway. So if you could just share what nights are good and what nights are absolutely out of the question, or times, that would be as well. And typically, people don't meet on weekends. I mean, meet in groups, I mean, committees don't typically meet on weekends, even if everyone is in agreement. I don't know if, but on the flip side, Finance Committee, as I said, in March Finance Committee meeting, so it's possible that if there's,
Well, yeah, we have to come for that.
if people's schedules are best on weekends, including candidates, I don't see anything that would preclude that, but typically we don't go in that direction. So if everyone could just email me, that would be great. And I'll reach out to Doug and Dr. Teixeira on that. So, all right, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion made, and do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Declare the motion carried. We are adjourned at what? Is it 8:55-ish?
56.
8:56.